Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I am Miriam Bellamy. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm the director of Whole Family Neurofeedback. I am here today with Elaine Taylor-Klaus of Impact ADHD. She is the author of a few books. We have Parenting ADHD Now. We have an upcoming book. I don't want to mess up the title, The Essential Guide to Raising Complex Kids with ADHD, Anxiety, and More. You're a busy woman.
Yes, as are you.
We were just talking about that. It's really nice to have you again. To all of our listeners, please feel free to comment at any time, ask any questions. Elaine is a wealth of knowledge and experience with ADHD, actually, and complex kids. Will you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us how you've been doing with COVID. I know you lost your kids, but are they back home?
Well, my kids I've had two back home and now in varying degrees. I've got one who's independent and lives on the West Coast. I live in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
So one is engaged and with their spouse and, spouse-to-be and settled on another coast, which is hard, but at least they're not alone, right?
Yes.
And then I had two come home from college, one who was a graduating senior. That was hard.
Oh, wow.
And one who just finished his freshman year. So, mostly because I have an online company, because I've been working online for 10 years, I would say that my life hasn't changed that much, except for it's just busier because being a parenting coach in a pandemic kind of amps it up a little bit.
I hear you.
It's been busy, but it's good. It feels great to be able to make a difference and to give people a place to get some support in this wild and unsettling time.
Yeah. I've been hearing a lot from parents where their children are at home now. They might be homeschooling and they never thought they would be doing such a thing. Some places where they have the support, like where we are, the schools are really doing a great job, and so the kids have what they need.
But that is not universal.
No, it's not. Yeah. And a lot of parents that I'm speaking with are saying that they're starting to notice things in their kids that they knew something was there, but now they're seeing the difficulty with attention or sticking with the instructions or being able to follow through on things.
Yeah.
Their eyes are opened in different ways and perhaps, getting anxious.
Well, and so sometimes what's happening is that they're feeling for teachers in a whole new way, right? There's a little bit of compassion that's being cultivated. And sometimes at the beginning, what I was hearing a lot was, my kids are doing great because I get that they need to stand up and walk around, or I get that, that there's a tolerance factor that a parent at home next to a single kid can have that a teacher has a much more difficult time having in a classroom. Mm-hmm. So some of the kids are really struggling in this environment. And as you say, parents are seeing things they didn't know were there before. But some of our kids, particularly those with anxiety, social anxiety, are doing really, really well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because they're able to get focused attention. They don't have the distractions of a classroom or, the social dynamic of the playground or whatever. So it's been really interesting to see the shifts.
Mm-hmm. And the variety, right?
Yeah. And the different age groups, some of which some kids at different ages are really doing different ages are doing really well, and then some age groups are really struggling. And so there's that sort of some patterns that we're beginning to see emerge too.
What are you noticing in terms of age groups?
Well, younger kids are really struggling. Initially, what I found is the kids roughly age 5 to 8 were really having a hard time. We were seeing a lot of regression. I had more parents of 6-year-olds than any other parents showing up to. We were doing a bunch of free open calls, live calls at the beginning, especially first. Actually, we're still doing them occasionally. And the parents of much younger kids, it was almost as if they just got out there in the world and now we brought them back home and they thought school was here and home was here and now it's blended and they're really confused. And so there's been a lot of regression in those younger kids. The sort of 10 to 13-year-old kids, 9 to 13, they're kind of like getting that they can own this differently. And so there's actually in some kids, you're getting more independence, more autonomy, more ownership, because they're ready for that next level of independence and they've just never been given it in a traditional school environment. So there's that.
So you're helping parents adjust to that.
Right. Well, there's a letting go factor that's hard for a lot of parents.
Yeah.
Right. And we teach there's a 4 phases to parenting construct that we teach in all of our programs. And a lot of parents get stuck in what we would call level 1 or phase 1 parenting, where we're directing and we're telling them why they should be motivated. And it's easy to get stuck there. And it's exactly what our kids don't need. Right. They need us to be really shifting how we approach them so that we're collaborating more with them, empowering them to take ownership, getting their buy-in. And in a traditional environment, it's often there's not really an incentive for parents to do that. Now, parents are trying to get their work done too. So they have an incentive for their kids to become more independent. So it's actually working in favor of a certain section of our kids.
There's a have to, right? And with COVID, parents are having to grow and adjust. Boy, that's powerful.
Yeah, and it's as you said earlier, like we didn't sign on for this, right? But when we became parents, we didn't sign on for a lot of the things that we deal with. That it's part of parenting. I think is about what I would call from the coaching world, dancing in the moment. When I start working with clients, what I say to them is, I want you to be able to have a kind of bring it on attitude, right? Whatever the world's going to throw at you, I want you to know you've got it. Like you can handle it and you can dance with it and you can figure out and adjust no matter what comes. Like that's confident parenting and conscious parenting. And that's what we're always working towards in our work. And that's what's required now more than ever, because we don't know what's going to happen. And so we really do have to be able to be adaptive and flexible and create flexible structure, because it's going to shift again. I was just talking to a member of our team in Texas who they were doing great, and then they were open and the state was opening up, and now they're on lockdown again. Yeah. Right. And so this week is very different from last week. And so we as parents have to be able to adapt to that and help our kids. It's a great opportunity to teach our kids resilience and to teach them to adapt to it. But the change starts with us.
So let me ask you this. You've already written one book on parenting, specifically ADHD. Why write a second one?
Well, so the first book I wrote because somebody asked me to, basically. And it's a book of strategies, which is really great, but it's ironically, it's kind of counter to my entire model, because my model is about don't start with strategies. Understand what's going on, get yourself educated and informed, really understand the context of what your kids are struggling with, whatever the challenge is, before you jump right to strategy. And so this book, The Essential Guide to Raising Complex Kids, really is designed to be a guidebook. It's more contextual. It's both conceptual and practical. So there's definitely tactical, practical strategies, tips, and such. But there's also a framework for how we think about things and for reframing how we think about traditional problems that many of us face. So it's really designed to help a parent do some of the mindset work that really sets the stage for success in empowering kids to become more independent. So this book is a reflection of the model that we teach, of the work. We teach a behavior program, an online class called Sanity School for Parents, which is a great program for any parent of complex kids of any kind, because it teaches this model for management, what we call a coach approach. And so this book is kind of like the book version of Sanity School in some ways. So I'm really excited about it.
I think that's key to how you are different, is that you are really there for parents. Yeah. You're really thinking about not treating ADHD or any complex kid. You're really helping parents through this process. And it sounds like this book really keys in on that, helping parents think through something before they jump, or before they feel like they have to develop a strategy.
Right. It's a problem-solving method, right? And what's interesting is that parent intervention is recommended treatment for most of these complex issues we're talking about, whether you got a kid with ADHD or anxiety or whatever it is. When the parent understands it, the parent can create an environment that supports it better. And so the parent intervention is a key piece. And it kind of, when the parent is involved, it amplifies the effectiveness of everything else you do, whether it's tutoring or neurofeedback or executive function coaching, whatever you're doing for the kid, when the parent is part of the process, it magnifies how well those other modalities support and help.
You bet it does. That's why I'm whole family neurofeedback.
Right, exactly.
Every session your child does, you do 2 or 3.
Exactly, because really we make an enormous difference, and somehow we think that we don't have an influence because they're peers or whatever, or they're at school 8 hours a day or used to be. But we really have. We are the most consistent, stable voice for them, and when we can create a voice that is compassionate, understanding, also empowering, motivating, but is not only about the fixing it, not just about the solutions, but it's about really walking our kids through the process of problem solving again and again and again, and helping them see how they can become their own problem solvers. That's when we really set our kids up for the greatest long-term success. That's when we prepare them for adulthood, not just getting them through childhood.
So you're an ADHD coach. What's the value or benefit for a parent to have an ADHD coach?
So I would say I'm not an ADHD coach, although that's a common perception. I'm a coach for parents. I'm a certified coach, and I coach parents of complex kids. So whether those kids have ADHD or anxiety or PKU or juvenile diabetes or I was talking to my husband the other day, or ASD. I have clients of kids with all kinds of diagnosed conditions. Yeah. And what I found is that when a parent raising a child with a chronic medical condition of any kind, or learning challenge, the parent is the one, as I said a little while ago, who sets the stage. So as a coach, I'm giving the parent a place to process and think about and figure out, how do I want to support this kid, and how do I want to empower this kid, and how can this kid do this differently or more independently? How can I shift what I'm doing to help them shift what they're doing? So it's very focused on, the best athletes in the world have coaches. Coaches don't tell you what to do. They help you enhance your performance. And so as a parent, particularly with complex kids or in complex times, it helps a lot to enhance our performance, right? To do the best job that we can in these difficult circumstances, so that we can get the most out of our kids and help them really, really, truly reach their potential. As I say, not just check off the milestones. Like, I had one kid who I spent a lot of years dragging, kicking and screaming to their success. Right. And it wasn't until I shifted my approach that I started empowering them to become successful in their own right. And it's a big difference. And it happens a lot with these kids, with complex kids.
And maybe that's a fundamental difference in your approach. Can you say more about how your approach is different?
So what's interesting about our approach is that we actually are teaching coaching skills and strategies. So we do a combination of training, coaching, and support, because we found that it's that 3-legged stool that really makes a difference. A lot of parents think that they're just looking for information, and information doesn't tend to be enough to sort of crest the challenges. You really need some support and some guidance to implement what you're learning with that information. And so this is about helping them take information, because there's lots of information out there. Right. But how do you take that information and actually put it into practice in a way that works, personalized for your family, not some cookie cutter? I could hand you a star chart and walk away, and there's a chance it might be successful, and there's a probably better chance that it won't. But I can coach you through figuring out how to make it work for your family, and how do you get the buy-in and the ownership, and how do you take a structure like that, if it's an appropriate structure, and use it. And I think that's the big difference, is that we're not about, here's a solution. We're about, let's walk you through the process of figuring out what solutions will work for your family. So what I like to say is that we're not just taking them fishing, right? We're not just, teaching them to fish. We actually want them to be able to plan an entire fishing trip, right? I want parents to be able to see the whole thing and figure out that they know what to do to start, go through and finish. How do you get these kids to learn problem solving. And it starts by helping the parents understand this model for problem solving, which is very, very simple, based on coaching principles, and then begin to teach it to their kids.
Okay. So complex kids and complex times, to borrow a phrase from you.
That is where we are right now.
What kind of a tip or something for a parent to think about might you offer today for parents who are seeing a long summer ahead of them, not sure if school is going to start in August or September, and maybe a little bit at their wit's end?
Well, I think what I thought I was going to say, I'm going to shift a little bit. So if I can offer a couple, is that okay? Because we need more than two, right? So the three things that come to mind. One is what I call flexible structure, right? So we all know that our kids thrive on structure and a structured environment, consistency. Every parenting guru in the world will tell you how important consistency is. It can be really difficult for my audience. Those of us who have ADHD or these issues ourselves, consistency is like a 4-letter word. And so I want to offer this notion.
Consistency is a 4-letter word. Does that mean I have ADHD?
Well, we can talk about that offline. But it really, it's this burden that I think is put on parents that's so unfair, because there's nothing consistent about most of our lives. I mean, look at what's happened in these last 6 months.
Yeah.
So I like to think about structure in terms of flexible structure, right? I like to think about it in terms of let's know that we're putting some systems or structures or whatever in place, but let's also hold a flexibility around it. Let's know that when you're having a really bad day, maybe we're just going to let go on that worksheet or that homework assignment or that whatever. Or maybe you don't have to go to that Zoom call today. And, let's spend some time connecting, or let's do something that really builds you up. All of us are having ups and downs in this time. And our kids are no less human than we are. So really putting the structures in place, but allowing for some kindness and compassion and flexibility around it, I think is really key. And in that, being flexible with ourselves too.
If someone's having a bad week, what do you think about that?
We're going to have bad weeks. We can be flexible for a week. I mean, if it goes into 2 weeks and if it continues, that's a different pattern, that's a different concern, and then you want to seek some help, right? If you've got a kid who's consistently is unable to rise to whatever occasion, then you may have something else going on. There's certainly a lot of rise of anxiety and depression that's happening during this time. So we do want to be mindful of it. But I don't know about you, but I've definitely had my up days, my down days, and and we have to be aware of that in this process, especially. So flexible structure is one. A second, I would say, is take a marathon view. Mm-hmm. Understand that you're in this for the long haul, this parenting thing. And it doesn't end when they turn 18, for those of you with older kids. And you don't only have 1 month or 3 months, or you're not really at a race. You really you're doing this thing because you chose to challenge yourself with a marathon of raising a kid. And so pace yourself for the long haul. Self-care for you is absolutely essential. And I know it seems like it's a crazy request, but it's absolutely essential. If you don't get the water and the nourishment that you need, you will collapse. Yeah. And you will be of no service to anybody. So really taking care of yourself in the process, really taking the long view that you got some time. Like, I had one mom who said to me, I'm so worried my kid's going to be so behind when they get back to school in the fall. And I started sort of laughing, like, look, everybody's going to be behind when they get back to school in the fall. Your kid's not going to be alone in that. Right. And the schools are going to have to learn how to adjust and accommodate and deal with it. So really, my big pitch this summer has been, don't let schooling interfere with your child's education. Mm-hmm. That's been my take-home message. You have this rare opportunity to spend way more time with your kids, to teach them to cook, to teach them to do laundry, to do fractions in the kitchen, whatever it is. But to slow down, help them learn some basic life skills they never get a chance to learn because we're so busy on that treadmill all the time, right? So it's okay if it doesn't all get done. Allow for some long-term planning instead of short-term. Okay. And then the third thing I would say is when you're ready to scream, and there are going to be moments where you're ready to pull your hair out, right? Instead of getting furious, ask yourself the question, is it naughty or neurological? So most of you who are listening to this, you're in a neurofeedback moms group. You've got kids with something going on. I don't know what the issue is. It doesn't really matter to me what the issue is, but there is probably something either neurologic or metabolic that's going on with your kid, right? If it's PKU, it's more metabolic, but the impact is the same. You still have executive function trouble, right? Mm-hmm. So when kids are doing something that make you want to pull your hair out, ask yourself that question: is it naughty or neurological? Mm-hmm. And then that will sort of allow you to respond to them instead of being as reactive as that we tend to, right? It's a really helpful question. I have clients who write it down and put it up on the refrigerator, put yourself a Post-it note, but just that simple question to ask yourself in those moments where you're not sure, 9 times out of 10, there's probably a neurological component. Yeah. And that will allow you to access it from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think it accesses a different part in us. It asks us to be thoughtful rather than reactive. Because I think when we're thinking naughty, that's most likely it's going to that reactive place, that anger, that frustration, which is completely understandable.
Well, I often say you cannot control, and especially now, you can't control what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. You can only control how you respond. That's it. And so
I have more control of that than others.
Sometimes, but that question, is it naughty neurological, gives you an access point to controlling it and to controlling yourself in a different way. Yeah. And at the end of the day, calm, if you let calm rule the day, if you let calm be a higher priority than getting something done, mm-hmm. It will serve the whole family system in so many ways.
And if you can't be calm just with the pause,
right.
Just take a minute before you react. I think if you can do that, I think most of us can.
We can. We just have to practice it, right? It doesn't always come naturally. We have to learn to calm down sometimes. Yeah. Just like our kids do, right?
Practice is the key there. It's not some kind of game of perfect, right? It's practice for sure.
Right. So and self-forgiveness, a little self-forgiveness in there too. Yeah. Just a little bit.
Oh yeah. You're not going to get anywhere blaming yourself.
No.
Just won't happen. So flexible structure, thinking in terms of marathon. This is the long haul, eyes on the horizon kind of a thing,
Yeah.
And then asking this question, is it naughty or is it neurological? I think that's super helpful. Yeah. Any final thoughts, Elaine?
I think that the final thing I would say is don't hesitate to ask for the help you need, right? If there's ever a time to ask for help, it's during a pandemic, there's no shame as a parent in recognizing that this is not what you signed up for, that this is harder than you expected, that you don't know how to motivate or empower or inspire this kid. There's no shame in not knowing what to do, right? And so ask for the help you need, seek it out in any form that works for you, and know that you've got this, right? You have the capacity to be exactly the parent that your kid needs right now. That's why you're this kid's parent. Yeah. So, take those breaths, connect to that, understand that for whatever reason you're in this dynamic, you're here because you are the best parent for that kid. Mm-hmm. If you need help figuring out how to do that part because that's who you are, then get the help you need, but know that you've got this.
And so to close today, I'd recommend reaching out to Elaine if you want to consider that coaching option. Mm-hmm. I would also recommend you can actually pre-order her book. Again, the title is The Essential Guide to Raising Complex Kids with ADHD, Anxiety, and More. And you're co-author?
Nope.
Co-authoring
this one's mine.
Okay.
This is all mine. Yep.
You can pre-order on Amazon. I did, and hopefully that'll be out in September. And
it will be September 1st. And you can go, if you go to impactadhd.com, which is it's a really great website with a lot of robust, it's a award-winning blog and all this stuff. Right on the cover of the website, you'll see a link to pre-purchase the book. And also you can get some free additional gifts and downloads, extra content. If you order in advance, it'd be a big support to us to order in advance. So we appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And then there's also lots of free downloads and tip sheets and other gifts on the website for you as well.
Yeah, a huge benefit. Yeah, if you're looking for help, it's a good place to start for sure. Thank you, Elaine, for being with me again.
Truly and always a pleasure. I love it. Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care.